With fewer than 80 days until the U.S. presidential election, Democrats are using this week's virtual convention to lay out their party's vision for the country and to draw a sharp contrast between former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald Trump. Joining me now on Skype with his analysis of day one of the convention is John Gizzi, chief political columnist and White House correspondent for Newsmax. John, welcome back to the show. Thanks for coming on. So last night, Democrats across the spectrum of the party and a few Republicans as well made the argument that the country would be better off under a Biden-Harris administration. What do you think of the case they made?
Well, you have to realize something, that the traditional bash the Republicans night that opens Democratic conventions has not changed one iota, save for the fact that it's now virtual and its main speakers recorded their message rather than addressing a cheering throng. Yes, Michelle Obama received a lot of praise for her speech, but for the most part, it was what we call in the news business boilerplate, attacks on the president and on his character. And that was predicted. Ditto for Republican Governor John Kasich. I might add that the Republicans came back and hit hard with rapid response. Former Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey noted that when John Kasich ran for president 4 years ago, single of the other Republican governors endorsed him. And that was something widely publicized by the press. So I would say their night was very traditional and very negative.
Well, the virtual nature of the convention kind of continues to drive home the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. It's also one of the key examples that Democrats keep using as an example of what they see as President Trump's poor leadership. What are your thoughts on that as far as political strategy? And also, do you think that will resonate with voters?
Well, again, this is something that's new and unique, a virtual convention. I would have to say I've seen insufficient evidence so far. Tonight, we're going to see almost a transitional evening with Bill Clinton essentially making his swan song with a 5-minute address after going generations, literally, in which he was a dominant figure at the Democrats' conclave. At the same time, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, will get 1 minute, and yet you know that she's going to get hours of publicity for this. So I think tonight what we'll see is a changing of the guard of a center-left party moving to the far left.
John, you've covered the White House for decades, and as you well know, it really is not an easy task to defeat an incumbent. Let's talk about that and what Joe Biden's up against.
No, it isn't. And defeating an incumbent has been very difficult. I've covered 2 elections in which Presidents Carter and George H.W. Bush were both unseated. For the most part, the opposition party makes strong efforts, but the incumbents hold on unless the economy is bad. That has always been the key to a presidential defeat. And in this particular case, the economy is not bad, but unemployment is rising because of the unusual circumstances, namely the coronavirus. And we have what many say is the failure of the executive to lead on dealing with COVID-19. These are going to be 2 very important factors in the fall, no matter how the market does, and they work against President Trump. That said, remember, Joe Biden is someone who is voted for increasing taxes, greater spending, and thus he has a big target on his back right now from the Republicans.
Now, John Gizzi, chief political columnist and White House correspondent for Newsmax, thank you so much for your time.
Always a pleasure. Call on me anytime.